Okay. Good evening. I'd like to call the Budget and Finance Personnel Committee meeting to order for October 15th, 2025. And we will start with public comment. Mr. Holt, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Robert Holt.
Yes, sir.
From the neglected, underrepresented, and unprotected Third Ward, and we will be no more. The winds of change are coming. I looked at your agenda and I see that you are going to vote on a committee schedule tonight for the year. And I'm going to urge all of you to be more diligent and conscientious about holding committee meetings. It becomes more the rule than the exception that committee meetings are canceled for lack of business. And when you ask chairman at times what happened to the meeting, they say, I don't know, they didn't tell me why it was canceled. So I just think if you're going to schedule committee meetings, you should hold them, and you should be willing to discuss things like the budget. You could use those as opportunities to discuss your $21 million budget, which you have not published for the public to see anywhere, so that we can fully understand the issues before us and the impacts on the citizens. And you said there was going to be no tax increases at the budget session, but in fact, we already are in the way of service fees and water fees. You're going to raise the borough consumption fee for over 1,000 gallons, and that, by the very nature of the Supreme Court rulings on the issues, is a tax. And I would also like to point out to you on the agenda number 902, and that is the miscellaneous resolution. So I appreciate your time. I hope you're going to rethink about some of the things you're doing with the budget, because you're steering us towards a tax increase. And that's before we even get to the 51.8% budget increase the fire commission is.
Those joining us via Zoom, you are now able to unmute yourselves if you would like to address council.
Seeing none, we'll move on to number 3 on the agenda, executive session.
Council had an executive session. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I had contacted Margie about being on tonight. The SPCA.
I didn't have a form for him. Excuse me?
Okay, hold on 1 second, sir. I'm sorry, I wasn't here prior to the meeting. We asked that you fill out a form. There's another person here with a public comment that didn't know about our forms, if he could speak.
Yeah, I'm okay. Come on up.
And he is speaking to something on the agenda.
Yep, come on up, sir.
Thank you for this opportunity. Sorry about the confusion. My name is Randy Drace. I have served on the York County SPCA board twice, 1994 to 1997, 2016 to 2019. 1994, as a public citizen, I wrote to the county commissioners and asked them to consider contributing to the budget of the SPCA. That worked. The letter helped. They contributed for the first time in the following year, $1,000. That made a good start. And with the information in the letter, hopefully you've all been able a chance to read. You can see how much the county has been paying and has paid and where that money goes. The cover letter that I had in there, I'm not going to waste or take my time on that, because this is, again, budget and finance. So I would just like to mention 2 things regarding fiscal responsibility to municipalities in York County. The email included the minutes from the Shrewsbury Township meeting with their concerns. Mr. Ziegler, manager, has their concerns in writing, which I forwarded to you, Margie, and I hope everybody had a chance to read it. It talks, and it's self-explanatory. But I'm just concerned about where the money is going. And that is addressed in the letter from Manager Ziegler, the minutes. So,
Sir, could I interrupt you for a minute?
sure,
I'm sorry.
that's okay.
When you come to present public comment, you're talking about those things that you sent in that email?
Yes,
That email was not given in time to meet this packet's deadline yesterday morning.
okay,
So when I emailed you back, I said, when you come in, please state the things that you want council to know.
okay,
State those things that you want them to know.
okay.
Okay, thank you, sir.
All right. The main thing, because it's budget, the money that the county has contributed is over $2 million since 2020, or 2033, 2003 to 2025. They've contributed over $2,893,000, $5,000. So that's a lot of money. And the contracts with the municipalities, the issue that has been raised is like, what are we getting for our money? And as in the Shrewsbury Township meeting, they say, for our contract for $5,000, we paid $5,000 for perhaps a half dozen animals. The response also talks about expenditures, which I will not get into, within the organization, the SPCA, but things need to be changed. But I tried to focus it as I could on the budget issues. The other issue is the one township manager asked at I believe it's August 18th, there was a meeting of government officials, municipal officials with Mr. Martinez at the SPCA. And she asked, and I'd like to read it. I was told at the SPCA group meeting that they would have to hire another person to be able to get me that information, i.e. the breakdown of the animals that were turned in from their municipality. I was told that they would have to hire another person to be able to get that information, and I would have to pay for it. We told him the information is already in the system and should be a simple print. I got nowhere, and he brushed me off. I know for a fact from different sources, including when I was on the board, all they had to do was pull up the report. They didn't have to hire anybody. You can get it within 30 seconds on a computer. So all I'm saying is if you get a chance to read everything that was in the packet, you know, you can consider it the concerns that we have. It's a lot of money. Hope you're getting your money's worth and you can get an audit of it. Make sure it is correct.
Okay, thank you,
Thank
sir.
you.
We appreciate it. Now we will move on to number 3.
Borough Council had an executive session this evening from 6 o'clock p.m. to 7:05 involving the following matters under Section 708(1), 4, and 5 of the Sunshine Act.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to number 4 in the agenda. 4.01 will be York County SPCA is going to do a presentation for us.
Okay. Thank you for allowing me to present. My name is Stephen Martinez. I'm the Executive Director for the York County SPCA. And joining me are Norm and Jennifer, who are volunteers and dog walkers at the York County SPCA, and Kristen Dimple, who's our Communications Director. So the York County SPCA provides an essential service that ensures public health and safety. The way that we manage animal services in Pennsylvania is unlike how it's done in most other states in the United States. So in Pennsylvania, the way that we provide animal services is that instead of the government having a shelter, a municipal shelter, a city shelter, a county shelter, instead what the way that we do things here is we rely on the nonprofit community to provide a basic government function service of providing animal services. So in Pennsylvania, the nonprofit community, the nonprofit animal shelters wear two hats. The first hat is that I'm wearing is my nonprofit hat. So if I'm speaking with my nonprofit hat on, I'm usually speaking to somebody and I'm asking them to support our mission-driven nonprofit activities. And then the other hat that I wear is a service provider hat. And that's typically when I'm speaking with like a commissioner or a municipal leader or an elected official. So we're a service provider. You need a service, we provide that service for a fee. So in Pennsylvania, animal shelters, they're all nonprofits. There's not a single government-run animal shelter. And we wear two different hats. We have the mission-driven side of our work, and then we have the government services that we provide to ensure healthy, safe communities. So examples of like government function services that we provide that would be what you're paying for include the most basic one. We're housing animals for the whole county. So all of our animals need a place to go, all of our domesticated pets. So those would be lost, abandoned, displaced, stray, dangerous animals. In our community, in our culture, we don't want, say, dogs like lying out in the street without a place to go. They could be dangerous, attacking people, running out into traffic, causing accidents. We need a place for them to go, and we are it for the whole county. We are your animal shelter. Another example of government function services that we provide is we investigate and prosecute animal cruelty offenders. So we have an actual, currently we do not. Unfortunately, our police officer passed away in the spring. But for almost the entire history of this organization, we've enforced Title 18, which is cruelty and neglect. So an actual police officer on staff at a nonprofit organization. It's a unique exemption that exists in Pennsylvania. So he has a badge, gun, can serve a warrant. And so we support police in their investigations. So if they're in a situation that involves an animal, and the main thing is cruelty and neglect, we'll lead that investigation. Otherwise, we'll support their investigations. Another example of government function services that we provide is we're controlling the pet population growth rates through an aggressive spay-neuter program. If our spay-neuter clinic were to disappear tomorrow, I promise you our communities would explode with cats and other animals, and they'd cause a whole big problem. And plus, we're vaccinating these animals for zoonotic diseases like rabies, which could transfer to human and would be deadly. So we're vaccinating all these thousands of animals. So these are just examples of essential basic government function services that we provide, and you contract with us to provide these services. The alternative solution that you could do, which again doesn't occur in Pennsylvania, is that the city, municipality, or the county can have a shelter. So that would be it. We're charging you about $14,000. That's the fee for that service that we're providing. This is not a donation. We're a professional organization, an organization that provides a professional service for you all. And we hope that you will sign your agreement. Our total operating budget is $5.1 million. The total fees that we collect from all municipalities is about $350,000. So less than 7% of our operating budget is comprised of municipal fees that we collect. So just to say it again, less than 7% of our operating budget is made up of all the fees that we collect from all municipalities, including the city of York. And so we subsidize low contract fees through our fundraising efforts, right? So 75% of our budget is made up of individual contributions. That's people giving $5, $100, $1,000. So we're in a relationship, you and me. We're in a public-private partnership is what we're in. And I would argue that it's a successful public-private partnership because we are the animal services department that the government doesn't have to administer, and for less than 7% of our budget, that's all it costs, right? So we do collect like 7% of our budget from municipal fees. We do not get funding from the county. We do not get funding from the state. We do not get funding from the national government or any other national organization. The majority of our budget comes from just our efforts of fundraising money. In terms of the Humane Society police officers, this is a question I get asked a lot, so I just want to address it. Our intention is to replace that position by next year. The reason why I haven't replaced the position today is because we're working with the county to try to uncover county funding to help cover the cost of that. And so the county, the way their budget cycle works is that we have to submit a budget request, and we've done that. And then we have to go in front of the county to do a budget hearing. That occurs in November. Based on that outcome of that budget hearing, then we'll know what to do, how to proceed. So hopefully the county will give us money and we fill the position. If they don't, I will still find a way to fund that position through just self-funding it through the York County SPCA. So I just want you to know what our intentions are and what our plan are and why we haven't filled that position yet, just so you know that. Another question that I get asked from municipalities is about our stray canine intake policy. For the last couple of years, in order for all the stray dogs to come in, we have the animal control officer, dog warden, or police can bring them in. And the reason why we have that policy is because we want to ensure safe, healthy communities. And so it's a best practice that we're emulating that exists in most shelters across the country. And so typically the best practice would say you don't want members of the community going after stray animals because you don't know anything about that animal. So the animal could be dangerous, could attack, could have some sort of disease that we don't know about. So you want a professional with professional equipment and training and expertise to bring stray dogs with unknown origins into the shelter. So that's why we shifted to that policy. Unfortunately, we've just been, we hold these municipal working groups and we gathered a lot of opinions about that policy, and there's been some resistance against it. And so what we're going to do is revert back to allowing residents to bring stray dogs in. But we're going to put some safety guardrails in place so that we can still try to keep the community safe while still trying to listen to feedback and keep an open mind about what's working for our communities and what's not. So I just want to update you all on that policy too, in case that was a question. It'll start January 1st, 2026. So residents will be able to bring. We're going to put that information out to all municipalities so you can see, but it'll be just more specific information about how to transfer an animal into our care. There was some safety concerns there with our staff, and then also what to do when you are out in the community and you see a stray dog. We're still going to encourage municipalities to contract with an animal control officer when it's an obvious, in general, we should do that as a best practice. But then if it's a clearly dangerous situation, we still want to bring police or the dog warden or animal control into that situation. So we're going to put out more guidelines and best practices to better educate our community on how to manage those situations. Does that make sense?
I think it's a good idea, just because I've been told from, for example, the Adams County SPCA, that they have people bringing animals there and not telling the truth as to where they found that animal because you all don't take them in. And I don't know if, I didn't realize I couldn't, if I happened to find a stray dog, that I'd have to call the police to have them bring it in.
Yeah. We don't have good data on how many people were bringing animals from the county. That's just things that people said, but we don't actually know if it's a problem to solve for. We just I know what you're talking about. You're referring to what happened over the summertime. The first time I ever heard about any challenges that Adams County was having, when they made a public post in the public sphere, right? That was how we found out about that problem. So ideally, Adams County and us can handle things more one-on-one between each other if we're having trouble. So we're definitely trying to communicate more effectively with them.
So you're changing the rules to allow the people to bring those animals to you, rather than to require just the police or code enforcement to bring them in?
Animal control or dog warden, yes.
Okay, so was that just trial tested for 1 year?
No, the policy was in place for 2 years.
It was in place for
2 years.
2 years?
Correct. And it only became a thing when the Adams County Post got made. In other words, only people became aware of the policy from the Adams County Post.
So you did get feedback from the public that said?
That was when we began to get feedback about the policy. The policy had been in place for 1.5 years at that point, and we had heard nothing about it. No resistance to the policy. And in fact, we keep data on number of people that we turn away because they're trying to bring stray dogs in, and it was a negligible number. It wasn't a problem to solve for. In other words, there weren't members of the community trying to bring stray dogs in, and we were just turning away so many people that it became a problem. So it was never a thing that we needed to solve for until the Adams County Post got made, and then it became got brought into the attention of the public, and then it became a point of a point of conversation. Any other questions on that? So again, we are going to revert back to allowing residents to intake strays, hoping that for those communities who have an animal control officer will continue to utilize that service, because it is, again, the reason behind the policy was to keep people safe, was to keep the community safe. And so I still have a concern for that. And I think that I just want to make you all aware of that concern, and that the better we can educate the community on what to do when you find a stray dog, the better we can keep our community safe. Okay, so I'm just wanting to educate you all on that concern that I have, that we are going to revert back to it because that's the feedback we're getting from municipalities. But the reason for the policy was sound, right? There was good reason behind it, and we need to think about that and how we can keep communities safe. The last thing I wanted to bring up is just to make you all aware that we're holding working groups, municipal working groups. And I would invite a representative from Hanover Borough to participate in these working groups. And what we're going to try to accomplish in next year's working groups in 26 is hopefully two things. One is to come up with a service agreement that goes beyond just year to year to year. So ideally, like the feedback I'm getting from municipal leadership is that you all want like multi-year service agreements, so we don't have to keep having these conversations every year, right? Like, what does that look like? It could be every 2 years, every 3 years, every 5 years. I want to have feedback, so I would encourage you all to like include your voice on that. And then also, we want to put out a schedule of fee increases. So every year we're going to increase our fees because cost of doing business increases every year. But we want to be transparent and we want to run our organization professionally. And from a budgeting perspective, you all are going to want to know like what things are going to cost in the future. So we also want to like I want to have like a collaborative dialogue between municipalities to identify those two things. Like, what does a fee structure increase look like that everybody can live with? It's 72 municipalities, so it's like hard to get consensus, but I still want to like listen to feedback. And then also multi-year agreements is another thing that we want to debate. So I just want to encourage you all to attend because that will have an impact on your municipality. And then also like people get hung up on like, it doesn't really apply to this to the borough in particular, but just like to say it out loud. Some municipalities get hung up on like, we only took in like 3 dogs or 5 cats or 8, 8 animals. And another way to like think about our relationship that we're in is that we are the animal services department for the whole county. And the amount of money that you're paying to the York County SPCA is like a share of participation in animal services. Because if you believe in my argument that we provide an essential service that ensures public health and safety, like if you accept that premise, then we all agree that this is an important service to provide, right? And so like what you're paying into, it's like the amount of fees that we collect is $350,000. So it's for all of the whole county to have an animal services department, right? So it's a good, successful public-private partnership, and this is like what you're paying into that share of being a part of this community and participating in animal services. So it's just like another way of thinking about, we only took in 6 dogs, well, but there's so much more that the SPCA does beyond just intaking specific number of dogs. So I hope I know that's a bit of an abstract point that I'm trying to make, but I'm just trying to say like it takes everybody, all the municipalities cooperating to sign their agreement with us so that we can continue to provide these services. And because we have cooperation from across the county, we're able to offer animal services for a very low cost, $350,000 out of a $5 million operating budget. So I just wanted to like offer that perspective as another way of thinking about our relationship.
Is the fee base, is each county or each area different? Are you basing it on our population, for example, in the Hanover Borough?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. So we're not charging you based on what services you're utilizing, right? Like you take in 12 dogs, 8 cats, whatever, you spay and neuter, 800 animals, it doesn't matter. It's just like we want to raise $350,000. You're, I forget off the top of my head, like 5% of the population, 14% of the population. So if we want to charge $350,000, 14% of that would be the amount of money that we would charge to the borough. That's how we do it. So it's, yeah. And this stuff works when all municipalities participate, right? Like if you all spay, neuter, vaccinate, intake your animals, but the neighbor doesn't, right? Like it doesn't work. Like it only works if we all cooperate together as a unified county. And we are your shelter, so hopefully you see the value in it and you will continue to sign your agreement.
And if municipalities don't pay the fee, then they are not allowed to partake in these services.
You will have a gap in service.
Right.
And so then in that instance, what we would need, if you choose not to, is like, because people will still want to, from your community, will still need our services. And so we'll need to know what to say to them. Like what is your solution, right? Because we'll have to like communicate with them on what to do. Yep. Any other questions that I can answer?
I have a question, but it's more for, I don't know if Margie, if you would have it off the top of your head here, but because we have to pay a separate service to take animals down to the SPCA, do you know that that's a contract that we have?
That is a contract, and that lady is here.
And so I'm just curious, do we know how much that contract costs us a year, or is it by per animal?
It's a minimal amount. It is a contract that we buy into. Michelle, how much is it annual? $400 annually, and then there are fees associated with each animal that she transports. Now, just remember also, our police and/or our treatment plant were transporting those animals. They're no longer doing it. Michelle is handling that.
Right.
So, and she's qualified to do it. Our wastewater treatment employees and police officers, though they're qualified, they probably shouldn't be doing it.
Right. Well,
It's
yeah.
safer, so.
Margie, what is the new budget for the SPCA for this coming year?
Stephen said it's
14,000.
14,000.
It's 14,000, straight for.
It's $13,969. Pretty close. I was rounding a little. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. It's the nonprofit. Yeah, the way you provide animal services, and this is normal for every community across the country, is there's two big buckets. You've got field services, which is animal control, and how animal control is provided is different in every community, but at a basic level, they're transporting the animals to us, and then we're the housing. It's literally called a housing agreement, right, with us, so we're the housing piece of it. We do field services with the humane officer investigating and prosecuting animal cruelty offenders for your community, but that would be like how I think about it, is just sort of those two major buckets of how these things work. Yeah. And then the other analysis in your service summary that may be confusing to you all is I got a question that was asked in municipal working groups this year. And it was a really fascinating question. And the question that municipal managers were asking was, what is the bare minimum we have to pay for, right? Like they want to know what is the bare, I'm paraphrasing, but that's essentially what they were asking. Like what's the bare minimum? And I thought that was a really interesting question to ask. I should be able to provide that answer. What is the bare minimum? And there's different ways that you can answer that question. But as a thought experiment, I gave an analysis to them. And the way that we answered the question was this. If you're going to have a shelter that exists in a community, you're legally obligated to hold dogs for 48 hours. You have to do it. It's the law. It's the only thing we have on law, really, is there's other laws, but when it comes to sheltering, that's an important one. So if you have a shelter, you have to hold dogs for 48 hours. Okay, and while those animals are in our care, we have to provide a minimal amount of care for them, or else we would violate cruelty and neglect, right? So then we have to have 6 staff on. Last year, our organization took in 2,700 stray dogs, okay? So I answered the question, what would it cost for us to intake 2,700 stray dogs and then kill them after 48 hours, right? We just catch and kill all the dogs for the whole county, right? Just euthanize them all after we've met the 48-hour obligation. What would that cost? And the answer was $1.2 million. And there's no attempt at adoption. We're not trying to adopt. The spay-neuter clinic goes away. So we're not trying to spay-neuter, right? All we're doing is rounding up all the stray dogs and we're euthanizing them after the minimum 48-hour hold. That will still cost $1.2 million, right, to do that. Because you still have to you're legally required to have like a minimal amount of animal care technicians and a vet on staff. The whole fees that we collect from the whole county is $350,000, right? And just to catch and kill all the dogs for the whole county would be $1.2 million. But also that adoption goes away and spay-neuter goes away. So then our intake skyrockets in a single year. So that number is super conservative. It would go way up. So my point that I made to the municipal working group was that there's no conceivable scenario that you can throw at me that we can ever do what we do at the York County SPCA for cheaper than what you're paying, right? That was the point of that thought experiment. Was like, just to catch and kill all the dogs is going to be more than $1.2 million, and we're charging you $14,000, right? Like it's $350,000 for the whole county. So we're in a successful public-private partnership, you and me. And it works because we can fundraise in a way that government cannot. We have incredible volunteers that just do so much for our organization for free because they give a care, right? And so it works, this model. I have problems with it, right? But from your perspective, it's a working solution. So I would hope that you would consider, and that was what we were trying to say in our services summary with this information below, is what we're trying to say.
I was reading up on this before I came tonight.
Yeah.
And you had down something about, was that our area? It was like 16 dogs or 19 dogs. Was that our area?
Yes.
That was our
Yeah.
area. So we had 16 cats and 19 dogs, right?
Yeah, 26 cats, 19 dogs, yes. We used to include all the other things that your community utilized, but the feedback we got from municipalities is they don't really care about all that. So we just limited the information to just how many dogs and how many cats came in, right? It's a very black and white way of thinking about things, but that is the information we're providing. I'm trying to do better at educating our leadership to think more nuanced about our role as an animal service provider, and you're paying into a share of that, and to think about like all the other things that we do that keep our community safe and healthy. But I'm trying to like also be responsive to the feedback that we're getting, and only providing the information that I'm hearing people, municipal leadership would want
I
to have.
appreciate that information.
Yeah.
Okay, I forgot the exact number, but you.
Yes.
but
Yeah, and
thank
there's a
you
name
for-
behind all of them, and I can give them to you too. I have them right here.
Okay, and that's just for the Hanover area,
Correct.
our country.
Just for your,
Okay,
yes, your
thank
zip
you.
codes. And I could get you other information that you want of people who utilize pet food pantry. We provide low-cost, life-saving medical care for pets coming from low-income households. I could give you how many spay-neuter surgeries we do for owned animals, also for your community cats, to keep your population in check. There's other data I can give, and we used to give it, but it became, from what I understand, too overwhelming. Yes, sir.
I guess I'd like to thank you for all of the hard work that you do, and my wife and I are dog lovers and, you know, saviors of a bunch of them. But basically, you do a lot for $15,000, and I'd like to acknowledge that and ask that we move on into the other items in the agenda. But thank you all very much for that, especially as dog adopters as we are.
Yes,
So-
thank you. And I appreciate
And I want to
your-
thank you for working with people of domestic violence when,
Yeah.
you shelter their animals
Yes,
till
we
they get
do.
in a better situation.
Yeah, thank you. That's why that one's close to our heart. Yeah. Appreciate the time.
Okay, 4.02. Mr. Excitement.
All right.
Can you turn your mic on, please?
It's on. All right. This is the second update to council concerning the 2026 budget. We'll continue to refine the revenues and expenses that come in. So this is really a living document. And it's been, when we get the information confirmed, it'll be included in the next version, which will be in November. Just a quick review again of the profit and loss summary. On your left-hand side is the revenues. You go down, expenses. We have transfers in and transfers out of the general fund. The general fund includes not only general operations, but also includes the library, includes public works, police, fire, all those activities considered under the general fund. What is separate is the general fund capital account, which you see to the right of the general fund. So the general fund is expected right now to bring in about $20.1 million in revenues, $21.1 million in expenses, and with adjustments for transfers in and out, we're sitting at about $1 million deficit for next year. And we were about a $900,000 at the same point last year. General fund, capital fund, you're seeing $6.4 million worth of revenues. That's primarily from our RACP grant that we're going to be getting for the police station construction. And we'll be spending about $10.9 million in expenses next year. Just to recall, though, we borrowed money in bonds as well as short-term bank loans to finance the police building as well as this administrative building. And so this is an accounting loss that you're seeing here, but on a cash basis, we have reserves to cover all these expenses. I won't talk too much about liquid fuels, library endowment, recreation, and rec board because they're pretty much self-explanatory. This governmental funds budget does not include the final budget expense for the fire commission. That's still pending final approval. Again, we expect to receive the RACP grant and recognize that as revenue in 2026. All right. On to the next slide. Next slide gives you a really kind of a bird's eye view or summary of the revenue by function for the governmental funds. You can see the first four categories make up about 86% of our revenues. And you see state grants is at the top of the list, which is driven a lot by the $6 million RACP grant. So that's the reason it's at the top. Typically, taxes, real estate taxes and Act 11 taxes are the ones that are at the top. And sanitation is revenues are growing as well too.
The state grants are not necessarily a recurring thing, they're once and done.
Yeah, depending on what they are, but definitely the RACP grant is you consider that a one-time event. Let's see. So a total of $27 million for governmental funds for next year. And then on your right, you see the kind of a pictorial representation of the different areas. Any questions about the revenues? Governmental. All right, go on to the next slide. Next one is the governmental funds expenses by function. The police is usually at the top of the list. It's really at the top of the list because the police station expenses are in there. So it's a $6 million. But typically, police and fire 1 and 2. Again, solid waste is up there again. The cost of providing sanitation services is continuing to grow year after year. It does require us to increase fees for such as the transfer station because the York County continues to increase their rates. But solid waste is number 2, and public works as well. And then the fire department is in there. Again, that's a preliminary number if we still have to get the final commission budget. And the library's expense is shown as 1.6, but that includes $600,000 worth of debt payment on the building, which is paid out of the general fund and not out of the library fund. And so a total of expenses next year about $32.5 million for the governmental funds. Okay, on to the next one. This is a slide you haven't seen in the past, but I thought it was valuable to you to take a look at this. This is the governmental capital funds outlays. So on the right left side column, you'll see kind of a detail of the capital expenditures for next year. You see the $6 million for the police station that's in there, but total capital outlays of $9.4 million plus our debt service of 1.4, so a total of $9.5 million in capital expenditure expense next year. On your right-hand side is the grants. So of that $9.4 million worth of expenses next year, we've got $6.1 million in grants covering 65% of the expenses. So grants are extremely important to the borough, and I know we aggressively go after those to cover or to subsidize necessary expenses. And so you can actually see the names of the grants that are listed there for your review. Any questions about? Pardon me? These are capital expenditures, primarily one time. All right, we'll go on to slide 6. So we're changing gears and switching to the proprietary funds, which is really the business funds. Again, the setup's the same. Revenues at the top, expenses, transfers in, transfers out, and your net change in the fund balance or the net income. Water fund, about $9.7 million with the $5.5 million worth of expenses and transfers out of a $3.4 million. They're going to end up at about $867,000 profit next year. That's about $1 million less than last year, not from the revenue side, but primarily on the expenditure side. The sanitary sewer, which got about $5.9 million worth of expenses or revenues with the $3.6 million expenses and then a $2.2 million transfers out to the capital fund. They're going to be just about break even, about a $21,000 loss. We're continuing to work on that. They were about $137,000 deficit last year. So it's it's almost a $6 million business, not making a profit or close to break even. So it is the cost of running sanitation sewer is very expensive. Regional wastewater is just a reminder, that was a setup more of a pass-through so that regional wastewater provides services to the borough, Penn Township, Conewago, and McSherrystown. So it really is pretty much a break-even process. And you can see that there's no net income for the capital or the operating. And so that's the intention. In other words, we're bringing in enough revenues just to cover the costs. So we don't want to overcharge the borough or the other municipalities for this service, just to pay for what their costs are. Stormwater Authority is to your right. It's going to run about a $324,000 net income for next year. Last year is about $119,000. Not a huge capital intensive business on the stormwater, and they're going to get a pretty good grant in their capital expenditure or capital fund of about $1 million next year. But on a consolidated basis, all the proprietary funds, about a $21.5 million revenue on $20.1 million of expenses after transfers in and out, at about a $1.1 million profit for 2026. Okay. Go to slide 7. Slide 7 is really a view of the revenues by function. As you can see, the water and sanitary sewer, which also include regional wastewater, make up 83% of the revenues. A good chunk of grants, almost $1.8 million makes up those revenues. So a total of $21.4 million. They were at about $20.5 million last year, so it's about $1 million increase of the revenues. And then you'll see a pictorial representation of those revenues. All right. Slide 8. This is the proprietary expenses by function. Again, water and wastewater treatment make up the biggest part of the expenses, and then debt service. The debt service is 18.3%, so we do carry a pretty heavy burden there with our debt services. But a total of $20.1 million, almost $20.2 million of the expenses for the proprietary funds for next year, and then you'll have the pictorial representation of the different expense areas to your right.
Do we provide stormwater management services to adjacent municipalities, or is that all ourselves?
I believe it's all ourselves unless,
It's just us.
you know.
We don't provide that outside for us.
All right, we'll go on slide 9. Again, this is a new slide for this year that gives you a really good view of the capital expenditures to the left for water, sanitary sewer, regional wastewater, and stormwater. And then to the right are the grants associated. So we're getting about $1.7 million worth of grants. So you can see the offset. And again, the debt service, specifically for the water, makes up 51% of the capital expenditure. So that is a very difficult burden to carry. And we look at alternatives to continue to modernize our system, but we do have limitations as a result of our debt service that we carry. And that's it. I've really tried to skinny it down from prior years. I think last year I gave you like 24 or 30 slides, and I'm sure by the end you guys are falling asleep. So I just tried to summarize it a little bit more. If there's any questions you have, we're going to be talking about more of this in November. Hopefully in November we're going to be closer to finalizing our budget, and then obviously in the month of December you're going to be adopting our budget for 2026.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Okay, moving on to 5 in our agenda, the consent agenda. I'll be looking for a motion, or if we want to pull one.
Mr. Vice President?
Yes,
If
sir.
I could make the motion to approve the consent agenda minus 505, that being the settlement agreement, I'd like to vote on that separately.
Okay. And we have a second on that. So on the consent agenda, we'll be voting on everything except for 5.05. Any discussion? Not seeing any. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Vice President, I would similarly like to make a motion regarding 505, that motion being to approve the settlement agreement between the Borough of Hanover, the Hanover Borough Police Officers Association, and former police officers buyers, conditioned upon final review and approval by the Borough's Special Labor Council and the union's legal representative, and to authorize the council president and staff to execute the agreement on behalf of the borough following completion of that review.
Thank you. Be looking for a second. Okay, any discussion? Okay. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Moving on to number 6 on our agenda, which is the Department of Water Resources, 6.01, the High Pointe Development Water System Extension. Eric, did you want to touch base on this at all? Sorry, Mr. Maines.
No apologies. You actually have me the whole way down through item 8, so I'll carry all of these. High Pointe Development is a performance bond release. So someone basically, when they want to install public infrastructure that they're going to give to us, we ask that they put their money where their mouth is. They have to put some money up. We keep it till the project's done. Once we're happy with it, then we release that money back to them. So in this case, it's about $25,000, basically punch list items. So at this time, our staff's looked at it, and we agree that it's time to return that money.
Okay. I'll be looking for a motion, please.
So motion.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 6.02.
York County Consortium. So if you will recall, back when the Stormwater Authority was put together, we agreed to participate in a consortium. The reason we did that was it's more cost effective for us to buy into a larger county plan. Certainly you heard conversations tonight about SPCA. Some similarities there. We bought into a larger plan. Other municipalities also paid into it. By doing so, it met our obligations to the state as far as our permit. The reason that's valid is because for us to have done it on our own would cost a whole lot more money. And so we didn't want to go down that route. Where we're at now, York County, that permit has expired at the state level, and they are in context now of renewing it, but they don't have it renewed yet. And so what is being asked of you now is to continue the agreement that we have with the county until such time as the state figures out what they're going to have for the permit. It's better for us to stay in that consortium rather than leave it and try to come back in later. So by resolution, the county, are asking us to sort of reaffirm our commitment to stay in that consortium.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone want to make a motion on that?
A motion.
Second.
Okay, discussion? Okay, not seeing any. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 6.03.
Chick-fil-A, everybody's favorite. Stormwater plan. So if you'll remember, about a year or two ago, they added some additional drive-through lanes out there, made some additions in how they were configured. As part of that, they had to do stormwater management. As part of stormwater management, just like the water system, they had to post money. And so we've held on to that money until they were done with everything. They've completed everything. We've gotten all our sign-offs. And so at this point in time, it's time to release them from their obligation for that.
All right, thank.
300 and some thousand. I have it highlighted here for you. 1 second. Actually, I'm sorry, $156,308.32 is what they have.
Okay. Be looking for a motion for 603. Second? Okay, discussion? Okay. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to 7, Planning Commission.
Weis Markets has submitted a plan for a gas and go facility, something they're looking at right now along kind of up towards Carlisle Street. That's currently sitting in front of your Planning Commission right now. They're working through some of the logistics, the stormwater, landscaping, things like that. And so in light of that kind of being there right now, they've asked for some additional time to allow those conversations to happen. And so what they're doing here is they are granting the municipality a time extension. If you'll remember from my other conversations, when a land development plan comes in front of you, there's a very set amount of time in which you have to act on that. And unless they grant you additional time, you have to choose to either accept it or deny it. And so we certainly want those conversations to continue at that Planning Commission level. And so I think it would be wise to accept their offer of time extension. I believe it carries them through to March 2nd of next year. I don't think we'll take that long, but that's how they've structured it.
Okay, thank you. Looking for a motion?
So motion.
Second? Any discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 702.
700 Wilson Avenue is a subdivision, partly in the borough, partly in Penn Township. What's happening is a larger lot, an acre is being cut off of that and added to another parcel beside it. A fairly simple process, but because part of it is inside the borough, we do have an obligation to review and act on it. Your Planning Commission has looked at it. They have recommended that it be approved, and it's in front of you tonight with a resolution for that approval. I don't know if it's exactly adjacent, but it's in that vicinity. It's down across from the Shepherd's Fold Daycare Center in that area of Wilson.
Okay, looking for a motion.
Motion.
Second? Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Moving on to number 8, Public Safety Committee. This is near and dear to my heart.
If you look through your packet tonight, you'll see we received a request from the Hanover School District requesting a school zone on Wilson Avenue in the area between Mao Avenue and Industrial Drive, between the two schools there, Washington Elementary and the high school. If you recall, we did something similar to this when we put the flashing school zone signs up on Hanover Street for Hanover Street Elementary. This would kind of mirror that process where we would have to come back to council with our findings, make the request from PennDOT to get approval, and then move forward from there. So at this point, all we're asking council for is to direct staff to investigate the viability of a school zone in that area.
Thank you. Second? Second. Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Number 9, which is Finance and Personnel Committee. I think I can take care of this one. 9.01 was a change order for 44 Frederick Street for the public safety facility. We're approving the change order number 3. And a credit of $59,784 for Masonry Veneer Cost Savings. Okay.
Just to be clear, that's a cost reduction.
That's what I said.
Just make sure everybody's aware of that.
Can I make that motion? Okay. Okay, we got a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 9.02, which was the miscellaneous fee and resolution. It was in our reading. I'll be looking for a motion for that.
So motion.
And a second.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion?
I think we ought to have a big shout out there to Hanover Architectural for giving us all that stuff, that we get that credit. I mean, they donated that 59,000, what is it?
Oh, you mean for number 901?
Yeah, sorry, I went back because I got lost there for a second.
I will let them know.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that's fabulous.
Thank you. So we're still on 9.02. We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion on 902? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Hey, Tim,
Yes.
can I go backwards just for a quick technical
Absolutely.
question? AJ, is Wilson Avenue a state road? Why do we have to go to PennDOT to get their blessing then?
They're all school zone, so all school zones have to go through that process.
Of PennDOT, but it's not their road. That's logical, thanks.
And I just told Brian, I'll tell the rest of council, just so you know, this just came into us. So we thought it best to get it on this agenda so that you can direct us to move forward. And we'll bring it to public safety when we have some of the initial stuff answered, so. And it'll come up through the normal committee channel.
Okay, that being said, we will move down to 13.01, which is additional public comment. And we will start with Sandy Mao.
Excuse me.
Oh, sorry.
I do have a.
Oh, I'm sorry, I
That's
apologize.
okay. That's okay. I do have a report from the government.
Sandy, give me 1 minute, please.
Thank you, Sandy. I'm passing around a junior council person application. As you know, we had Noah and Alexis. Alexis has a volleyball game tonight, that's why she's on here. Noah has resigned because he's too busy with all his activities. I checked with the high school principal, and he recommended Adeline Stitt. I met with Adeline, met with her parents, and they're pretty excited about this opportunity. So I wanted you to pass this on so we could get her approved at the next meeting. And so her application is, she has a pretty varied background. She's a good student, very nice young lady.
Outstanding student.
Thank you. Oh, good. Thank you.
Sandy Mao, please. You don't want to go?
Sandy Mao, General Delivery. I just want to follow up on some things that are still outstanding. Are we making any progress on the security and keys issue at the library? Has it been addressed? Has it been given to the proper management to deal with? Okay. And what about the repair that was needed on a Saturday? It's a plumbing issue. We don't know what caused it, but it certainly wasn't any ordinary repair. Do we have a reason for it and the cost? Okay, the drug duo is back at the library, being escorted in. And we still have the same issue resurfacing again, resulting today in one of them falling asleep next to their new friend and my nemesis and falling on the floor with a thud. Oh, there was an alley that leads from Allegheny to the park that was supposed to have been closed off, but the one property has been sold, so is that null and void now? Nobody knows? Wow. Move for 3, striking out. Okay. Okay, that takes all care of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Holt?
Mr. Chairman, thank you for putting up some facts and figures on the screen so the public could see and have some vague understanding. I appreciate that. It would be helpful if that was posted on the website with the disclaimer that it is draft, it is tentative, nothing's for certain. And I appreciate that. I listened tonight and I hear somewhat discussion about the budget, and I think you have a budget that doesn't align with the values of the community, some of the values of the community. Penn Township is going to hire an additional police officer to be a drug detective. And I know it's been discussed here, but it never comes up. But it is sorely needed. There's numerous drug events, incidents, crime that happens, and you need it. You need it more than you need to spend $68,000 to subsidize the market house merchants, spending $40,000 for Main Street to help pay their salaries when they're sitting on over $100,000 in their bank account. Your role as government is to protect the citizens. That's your first obligation. That's been the obligation of every government in the history of this country since 1775 and the Congress, Confederation, Assembly. And it's about time you get your budget values in sync with the rest of the community. Some of the things that go on and some of the things the money is spent on, you can't even account for how much it costs for 7 managers and the borough manager and 7 department heads to drive vehicles home to their personal home. You can't even account for how much it's costing the taxpayers. It makes me wonder how you're going to report that to the IRS when the next tax season comes up and those employees have to report those perks to pay their due taxes. And that's important because everybody in this community is bearing the burden, including people who have no jobs, who are limited incomes, who are sick and cannot work. And I see it, and I just think you need to give people a break and think about your obligations to the citizens. And we're on the issue of protection. You've surpassed last year's total of public drunkenness incidents and arrests, DUI. You surpassed last year's total. You still have a couple more months to go. And it just seems like you need to get your house in order and get people to understand that walking around our streets with open containers of alcohol isn't appropriate and it isn't going to be tolerated, that you need to do something to ensure that this doesn't spread. Ostensibly, it only happens around Center Square, but we know that's not true. That is absolutely not true. There are people who continue to spread that lie and that misinformation. It's happening in our neighborhoods. It's happening in front of your church down on Frederick Street. I left the last council meeting, and there was a beer can, not the usual culprit, but a different brand, large, and it's sitting out in front of the church property. So it's all over the place. It's in our neighborhoods, and people just think that they can come have a good time in front of our yards, throw the cans and the empties in our yards, and wander down our streets with no regard for our families and our safety. And there has to be something done. And I'm not going to give up on this one, sir. I appreciate your time, and I hope you have a good evening.
Thank you. Excuse me one second.
Tony and Alan, will you please come up?
And I really appreciate you making me read.
Alan, Mr. Redding, Mr. Redding.
Real quick, I was asked to read an announcement about these two gentlemen, so I will do that. Congratulations to Tony. Please stay focused, sir. Okay. Congratulations to Tony Thomas, Director of Water and Wastewater Treatment, and Alan Redding, Pretreatment Officer, Wastewater Plant Supervisor, for their outstanding performance in administering the borough's pretreatment program. Hanover's 2023 pretreatment program received a perfect score of 100%, and the 2024 rating was 98.1, which were recognized by the EPA as a Category 1 rating representing the highest level of recognition within the program. In Region 3, which encompasses a total of 103 programs. Gentlemen, Thank you. You guys want to make any comments?
Alan and his staff do a wonderful job. There's a lot of staff involved, there's a lot of time involved in it, and the wastewater plant.
Okay, one other announcement here. In addition to the November meeting list, a Water and Sewer Committee meeting is scheduled for Thursday, 11/13 at 6 p.m. And the final announcement is, please plan to exit the building within 15 minutes following the adjournment so staff may secure the building and depart for the evening. That being said, number 15, I'll be
Motion
looking
to
for a motion
adjourn.
for an adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
All those in favor? Opposed? Carries. Thank you.